Manchester is now the home of the Great Escape. What a test match at Old Trafford. India pulling off the heist, the Great Escape. I don't know how they pulled that off. 143 overs of just straight, solid, technical beauty of batting to watch. The Warriors stood up, Jaddu himself with the sword. Washi supported well by Washi, supported by the captain Shubman with an epic 100, and then KL with an almost 100. India pull off the draw and keep the series alive. How do you feel, Ishan?
Edge of the seat drama, and it was incredible to watch. Again, classic, as you mentioned, test match batting. It was basically baseball meeting early 2000 style test batting, and we saw that with the patience displayed by Washington Sundar and Jadeja as well. He could fit into any side as just a batter himself. If you disregard even his bowling. So great performances from them, as you mentioned. But I think it's a great day for Test cricket because another match in this series went to the fifth day, all the way to the end, and incredible drama. And again, Test cricket is one of those matches where you wait for the draw. You play it out, and a draw is sometimes seen as a victory. And I think today, at least with the momentum going into the fifth test, India could claim this as a moral victory, depending on how you look at it. Because at one point in this test match, they look like it was ending very quickly.
Yeah, from where they were in this test match to end up pulling off a draw, you could say that for sure because it seemed like an England win written all over this. And I remember we were talking about it and we didn't feel so good. I think it was the end of day three and then day four happened. And then India was 0 for 2. And you're thinking, oh man, like, I hope this doesn't finish on day four. And then all you see is Shubman. It's one of those things where you see 0 for 2 and you're like, oh, I just hope the next two bat the whole day, knowing in the back of your mind that it may not happen, but you just wish that it happens, and then it actually happens.
Exactly that. It was so improbable, and one of the things as well that I'll mention, when we were watching it, especially, obviously we were watching it separately. When the group chat was going off, then India wasn't doing well because that's when.
Yeah,
But when India was doing well, the group chat's a little more tame because everyone's just watching the match. But as you mentioned, for two, and then you wanted them to really bat it out. And that's exactly what you got. And when those wickets fell, you wanted that partnership, Jaddu and Washi, to go on, and they did exactly that. And that rarely happens. I know there was talks about the pitch, and obviously, I think the last couple of test matches at Manchester in county cricket ended up being a draw as well. So maybe the pitch obviously was a big factor into that, but to show the mental resilience, even if the pitch isn't doing anything, is such a big thing in Test cricket, and that was displayed extremely well by Rahul, Shubman Gill, followed by really classic innings by both Jadeja and Washington Sundar.
yeah. So let's talk about those centuries, Jaddu's and Washi. So Washi gets his maiden century in Test match cricket, and Jaddu gets his, I believe it was his fifth century, and very well deserved, as we've talked about. They literally helped India draw this match, right? And we'll get to Shubman, but those centuries almost did not happen for reasons that apparently England thinks that they should have just shaken hands and been done with it, but India had other ambitions and they wanted to get them to their centuries, which I think was valid. I think they should, and they were in their right to do it. But England had other ideas. What did you think of that?
Yeah, much ado about nothing in my eyes. They've weathered the storm, and you know what? Fair enough. I think Ben Stokes is allowed to ask for a draw, but India is entirely allowed to say no because again, as we mentioned, first of all, they're really at the cusp of their century. So I think with the spirit of the game, everyone talks about, let them bat it out, let them get their well-deserved centuries. But also on the flip as well, this is not a one-off test match. This is a five-match test series with a test match coming up this Thursday after a 3-day rest. So India was it could well have used the reason that no, they want to tire the legs of England. They want them to dwell a little bit more in the field because again, momentum plays a huge part in Test cricket, especially in a five-match Test series, and fitness. So I think India was entirely in their right to say no, politely say no, and one, finish it off and end off on their terms. You do not need to end off on anyone else's terms. Just because it was in the best interest of England to declare at that time or to, go for the handshake at that time doesn't mean it was in India's best interest. So I think Jaddu and Washi were well in their rights. I'm not sure if if they received communication from the dressing room. It seemed like perhaps it was the decision of the batsman on the pitch, but no, they completely weathered the storm at such a tricky time with the deficit as well that they were toiling against. And no, I think it was just right for them to finish it off. And Washi's first 100, I know he's had a few 90s as well, some great half century scores, but he very much well deserved his 100, and he looked like he could bat in the top 5 order of India. Incredible batting for Washi.
Yeah, amazing. Stokes, I don't understand his comment on, oh, that they should have shaken hands or ended there. The hard work was done already. It's like, no, I don't understand that, and I don't agree with that. Just because he would have done that and the English team would have done that doesn't mean that other teams and others have to do the same thing. Right? Everyone is entitled to their own views and opinions and their own perspectives on how they see things. And it's not that it was right or wrong. It's just it is what it is. They earned the right to face Harry Brook, Joe Root, and I think Stokes was like, "What, are you going to score 100 against Ben Duckett and
And Harry
Harry
Brook.
Brook?" It's like, come on, man. They literally fought off everything that you threw at them, and then you had nothing else to do to do, or you didn't have any other way of getting them out. So you're like, you threw in the towel and you put in Harry Brook, and supposedly you wanted to put in Ben Duckett, but that that you didn't have to do that. You did that because of the hard work and because of the amazing batsmanship that they showed that put them into that position where they now deserve to score those tons. And so why not? If there's a century at hand, and you as a batsman, anyone as a batsman knows that as a batter, your margin for error is very low. You can one
Yes.
small mistake and you're out. That's it. You're done. Your game is done. Right. And so to be in a position to be able to score a century, I think you take that every day of the week.
No, exactly that. And on that comment that he specifically made, you're really asking the question to the batsman for your own decision to bowl Harry Brook. Go bring in Archer, bring in yourself.
Yeah,
India had
exactly.
India did not tell anyone to bring in, your backup bowlers. You had every right to, even for a moral victory, get them out before the century. Maybe swing the momentum a little bit in your direction at the tail end of the day. But no, I think it was simply, as you mentioned, the frustration. You know, they were out in the field in the wild. They tried all the tactics they could have, with the new ball, pitching it up, with Dawson trying to hit the rough, and then, the short ball tactic. And you're right. The batsmen played extremely well. They played their shots, and 100% deservedly so, they got their hundreds. And I think this is a good story for India because, again, quick turnaround for Test 5. So with centuries under their belt, with a little bit of momentum and wind into the wings as well, I think this was an extremely important result to not go in England's favor, to sort of keep the series alive. And I think, as you mentioned in your opening monologue, it goes out to the Indian batsmen who are really able to dig in and show classic batsmanship that, we sometimes don't really see in the era of quick playing and baseball. So it's really nice to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of great batsmanship, so the innings was well set up by Shubman Gill, Captain Shubman Gill, I should say, and KL Rahul, who literally got India out of the hole at 1 for 2 at lunch on day 4. You're thinking this game's done by the end of the day, or you know probably first session on day 5.
Yes.
But somehow, some way, they stuck it out. They fought it out. It was tough conditions. I watched quite a bit of their that passage of play right after lunch, and they found a way to just stick it out. Gill did get lucky. There was a drop catch of
Yes.
Dawson, Liam Dawson. I think he was in his 40s, 46, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
early on in his
But
innings.
other
Yep.
than that one chance, I don't think there were too many other opportunities offered by either of them. KL Rahul played a classical innings without giving any chances to the opposition. And the way they batted, I like the fact that they weren't just defensive minded. They also put away the bad balls. They stayed positive in their intent. And they played with intention, whether they defended the ball or they attacked the ball, which is great to see. And it was a phenomenal partnership that really set the stage for Washi and Jaddu to then do their thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, exactly that. And I obviously, I think another chance that did happen later on in the innings was Jadeja being dropped on his first ball, which I think was a big opportunity for England. Unfortunately, dropped by Joe Root. But again, cat drops
Yeah.
happen, drops do happen during the game. But no, Indian batsmen in terms of playing the ball at their merit, and putting it away when needed to was, I think, super important because we always fail to forget there was a huge deficit. India had to overcome that deficit and then perhaps play for the tie. So yeah, it was very well played by the batsmen. It really showed, the grit and determination that test batsmen do have, and very encouraging to see with a team in transition like India.
Okay, so India was set or were given England had a lead of 313 or whatever it was that India had to overcome. And England literally it felt like they batted India out of the game. How did you feel that innings went from a bowling standpoint from India? Obviously, we'll get to Joe Root and the milestones that he broke and the records that he set. But from an Indian bowling perspective, how did you think that innings went?
Yeah, super tough watch for Indian fans for that bowling. I think, with Bumrah coming back in, there was that expectation of, an enhanced bowling lineup, and Cambodia as well coming in. Lots of talks about him in domestic as well as in the IPL. So, there was some fresh legs and energy expected into the bowling unit. But again, it was tough to watch. Cambodia as well, his pace dropped extremely low with the second new ball. So India do, I think, need to look at some of their bowling, looking ahead into the new test match. Bumrah's fitness as well. I'm not sure if he's hurting, but he was a little discouraging to watch. But it was a very tough watch. And I think part of the blame you can put on the pitch, but I think we're from the Ravi Shastri school where sometimes you have to put the pitch to the side and get those 20 wickets or get those 10
Yeah,
wickets in an innings. And unfortunately, India just didn't really do that at the level that I think they can do. But
yeah,
there was injuries, obviously, as we mentioned. Siraj is bowling his fourth test in a row. There are Bumrah's obviously not at 100%. So definitely questions during India's bowling. And I hopefully they can answer some of the questions when they select the bowling lineup for the next test match. What were your thought? Did you feel that it was, because I did hear on some of the comms, it did seem like at times India's bowling was toothless.
so, yes, it did feel like that until I saw England bowl in the second innings, and then I was like, okay, we're just playing on the road. That's what this is. We're just playing on the Highway 401 here in Toronto. That's what it felt like at times, and so you could say that in hindsight, India probably didn't do that bad a job. Maybe they could have curtailed their runs a bit. I felt the over rate was a little too high for my
Mhm,
liking. They
mhm.
could have like when Duckett and Crawley got off to that start, they were scoring at 5.5 and over. And then it wasn't until they got out that they were able to bring the overall scoring rate down. But for England to still score at 4 runs and over, I think that was a little disappointing. If they could have got it down to maybe 3.5, maybe England wouldn't have that big of a lead to begin with. Or maybe, who knows what could have happened because they would have been able to apply more pressure as well. But that's the only thing. I think the pitch it seemed like one of those that was getting better to bat on, and
Mhm.
so it's easy to be harsh on the Indian bowling, but you could say that they tried their best in patches. They weren't. They obviously had a lot of patches where they bowled a pile of garbage. Let's be frank, especially again that opening partnership. But then they had patches of good spells as well. They just weren't able to be as consistent as you'd like them to be. But I think a part of it had to do with the pitch too.
No, that's fair, that's fair, and I think 100% the pitch is obviously was a factor in the bowling
Yeah,
performances, but I have 2 questions for you on bowling, pitch aside. Let's talk
yeah.
about the tactics, okay? So 2 points. So first point being, I did see in some of the coverage during the match that the first point being that India's tactics with the short ball
Mm.
England was way more liberal in using the short ball tactic as opposed to India. I think just shy a third of England's deliveries were on the shorter end of the length, whereas only around 14% of India's deliveries were on the shorter length. Do you think they could have employed the shorter ball tactic a lot quicker? And second question, do you think it was right bringing Washington Sundar with 60 plus overs done in the innings? Because that was a little weird on my end as well.
Yeah, so the first question with regards to the short ball tactic, 100%. I think they could have gone to it earlier. I don't know if they had I don't know why they didn't. I think they were just focused on bowling line and length because they felt that there was enough in the wicket, seeing how England bowled.
Mhm.
Because when India were batting in the first innings, it wasn't easy. The ball was hooping
Yes.
around all over the place. It was swinging around. And you thought that that would continue or even get worse. And there was even a stat on day one saying how day one is generally the best day to bat on that wicket. But it turned out it wasn't the case. And I felt they could have gone to a different plan, like a short ball plan quicker, which is
Mhm.
something that I think England does better at, and which is why England, I believe, has the lead in the series because tactically they've made changes better than India have been able to. That have led to they've led to situations where England have been able to get a wicket here, get a wicket there, win a session here, win a session there, from a 50-50 position, which India haven't
Mhm.
been able to. As you said, they should have gone to a different tactic to change things up, but they went too late. Same thing with the whole Washi situation. He should have been in the attack at the same time as Jaddu or even before Jaddu, given how well he did in the previous test match, work on the momentum that he's built personally. You know, when you take wickets like the way he did, where he literally set the matchup for India and India weren't able to pull it off, but he literally set that match up. And that must have felt really good for him personally. And so you want to feed into that momentum. And I felt like Shubman missed an opportunity there that I feel like he learned from, where he should have brought on Washi early to use that confidence that he got from the previous match and see if he could make something happen earlier, because he
Yeah.
definitely did make something happen, but it felt like it was a little too late.
Yeah, no, no, exactly, exactly that. So amongst obviously India's bowling performances, which we know, could have improved, some great some great England batting performances, some
Yeah.
quick shoutouts. Stokes with a gritty 100 plus score. And then,
He should have declared early. He should have declared before I got to his 100.
yeah, no,
He
100%,
didn't he didn't
100%.
give them enough time to pull them out.
No, no, no. Hey, hey, 100% fair criticism. So obviously, Stokes with a century, and then Joe Root with a massive score, but alongside that,
Man,
breaking some milestones, getting
yeah,
past Ricky Ponting in the all-time Test runs scoreboard,
yeah.
and now he's chasing Tendulkar.
Yeah, before that he got past, I believe it was Callis and Dravid, if I'm not
Khaled, yes,
mistaken.
yes, all in one innings,
Yeah.
incredible.
All in one innings. Like those are some names to get past, like some all-time goats, right? They'll be in people's Mount Rushmore of best batters of all time, and he's been able to pass them, which says a lot about Joe Root, which I think he's going to be on the Mount Rushmore talk soon, if not already. And yeah, it must be such a good feeling for him, and he's very humble about it that
Very true.
when he talks about it. But I know like as as a sportsman or an athlete, you are competitive, and I feel like he has his eyes on Tendulkar's record, but he's just not talking about it. I know deep down, if you come this far, you're not stopping anytime soon. Like you're gonna try your best to get to the peak, if you will, figuratively speaking. And I feel like he can do it. I think Tendulkar's record is on the line, and I feel like in the next 2 to 3 years, people have been doing the math on it based on his average in the last 3 to 5 years. That he probably just needs the way England played tests, because they I think play
Yes,
the most tests amongst
very
all
true.
the countries, and so he definitely has an opportunity get to Tendulkar's record, I believe, in the next 2 to 3 years. And he's only 34. So he could easily play till 37, 38.
Yeah, yeah, no, again, on the way to the Mount Rushmore, and also I think, on the way to get knighted, I'm sure Sir Joe Root is just around the corner as well.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, yeah, definitely joining the likes of Sir Alistair Cook and Andrew Strauss too, I think, right? Is it Sir
Andrew
Andrew
Strauss,
Strauss?
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
so, and I think also I did hear that James Anderson is on his way to get knighted as well, which I think fits, from
Yeah,
bowling
for sure.
perspective.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so shout out to Joe Root. That's a great
Yes.
accomplishment. And then shout out to Ben Stokes. We talked about his 100. He took a fifer in that innings as well, in the first innings, where it literally felt like he was the best bowler on show for England, and it
I think
felt
he
like
was. I
every
think
time,
sorry, just to cut you
yeah,
off, I think in the series, he is the best bowler for England,
he's the
for sure.
difference maker in the
Yes.
series right now.
Yes.
I feel he's in line to get man of the series as of right now. He's got two back-to-back man of the match awards.
Yes.
He literally is the difference between India being 2-1 up and England being 2-1 up.
No, no, very, very, very true.
Yeah, so that Pfeiffer, just the way he came on, whenever England, it felt like whenever England needed a wicket, he came on and he was able to get a wicket. I remember, sorry, even before I talk about the first innings, let's talk about the second innings, come back to the second innings really quickly. An important point that we didn't mention is Stokes did not bowl on day four at all. And
Yes.
you literally saw the difference because he ended up being the person to break the partnership,
Very
right?
true. 100%,
And
yeah.
it was insane to think how important he is right now in this bowling unit for England. And so coming back to the first innings, every time England needed a wicket, he stepped up and took a wicket. And he didn't just get a wicket. He prized out a wicket. Right. And I hope I'm landing on the person listening to this when I say prize out a wicket. I'll give Sai Sudarshan as an example. That was a complete plan in that first innings. Sai Sudarshan was looking good at on 60 odd, whatever he made. I think it was 61. And they went to short ball plan and Sai Sudarshan fell for it. Like he backed himself to clear the ropes, but you could see that Stokes was getting his short balls at a good angle and at a good height where it was at an uncomfortable spot to get it clean, and that's
Yep.
exactly what happened. And that's a prime example of how he was able to price wickets out.
Yeah, no, to your point there, he's just been that difference maker, and he has been able to get those, as you point out earlier in the pod. One, like for example, the magic delivery to KL Rahul, or two, with his tactics and executing them brilliantly for Sai Sudarshan. Again, to your point, I don't think England would be anywhere near their position currently without his bowling performance. I know from the bat he's been handy here and there. I think this is his only big score in the series so far. But from the 100%, he's been the difference maker. So it'll be actually very interesting to see how his body keeps up for the fifth test, because as much as he did bowl a few overs today, it did seem like he was, rubbing his shoulders, holding on to his hamstring.
Yeah.
Again, we always time we may forget he bowled a lot of overs in the Lord's Test match. He's bowled across two innings in this Test match, so the legs are must be tiring for sure. But yeah, 100% interesting, interesting perspective in terms of him being the difference in terms of the bowling unit.
Yeah, and before we preview the next test match, another incident that we have to talk about in that first innings. Our favorite cricketer right now, Rishabh Pant. What was he thinking? Reverse sweeping. Was it Chris Wilkes? Yeah, it was Chris Wilkes.
Chris
What
Wilkes.
were you thinking, Rishabh Pant? But you can't put it past him. That's Rishabh for you, right? And
That's what you
but it
get.
ended up, yeah, that's what you get, and it ended up injuring him and possibly out of the series. For the most part, he did come back and ended up scoring a 50. That was amazing to see. Again, another great example of the fight that this India
Yes.
team is showing right now, which is quite heartening to see because they could have easily folded in multiple times during this test match, but they didn't. And they hung in there, and they hung in there, and they hung in there, and they came up with a draw. And Punt walking out with that injury spoke a lot and was a good example of the fight in each individual on this team. And yeah, it was heartening to see him come out and score that 15, 20 runs, which Now looking back, it wasn't the runs that was really important. It was the time that he spent at the crease because that helped India draw the match eventually.
No, no, 100%. Very heartening to see him come out, especially with the news of him potentially missing the series even before the day had started. So great, great for him to come out. And to your point as well, it does show the grit and determination. And second, as much as it did, yes, of course, affect the time, it also, I think, affected the dressing room. You know, you see someone who's clearly, clearly injured walking out to fight and to really put up a front. And I think, that some of that could have obviously stayed in the dressing room for India's second innings, where he's there. He showed his determination, and I think it kind of did rub off on some of the Indian batters in the second inning. So no, 100%. I think it was a great moment as well. We've seen so many iconic moments. Anil Kumble with his broken jaw. I think this
Yes.
one as well would definitely fit into that sort of realm of determination and grit.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how you mentioned Anil Kumble with a broken jaw. I have a feeling that it came up on your knee, so you did it.
Of course.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, eh? That video probably has another bunch of views on it just
Yeah,
because of
yeah.
the injury that happened to Putt. It's insane how the algorithm work. But anyways, that's a separate topic. Okay, so moving on to the Oval Test preview, and let's start there with the Punt injury. So looks like Punt's going to be out for the fifth Test. Straight swap with Jarrell then, eh? Jarrell's coming in. Where would you say he bats though?
I say you put in more bunt bats, which is I think five, and you keep everyone else as it is. I think it is what it is. If Jarrell performs, he performs, but I don't think you change anyone else. I know there's discussions of perhaps putting Washington Sundar up ahead just because of how he bats. And I know he does bat well with obviously people who are also batters, but is it too early? Because again, he did come in at I think he came in at five today or six. I think he came at five today, right?
He came at five. Washington came at five today.
So I do see the perspective of perhaps pushing him up, but maybe for at least the first innings, keep him there. But then again, we know Gautam Gambhir has no quarrels of changing up the order halfway through a test. So, but no, I think it's a swap, and I would like to see a Jarrell bat a five. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I share the same sentiment. I know there's been talk on the internet of maybe keeping Washi at five and then having Jarrell at seven. However, since it's a one-off thing, I would say that you don't want to mess up the rest of the batting lineup. Just swap Jarrell with Punt and then just play the rest how you were going to play anyways, right? And so I would probably keep the lineup the way it is, the batting lineup, and then just swap Jarrell straight in at five instead of Punt.
No, fair. And then very quickly, number three, Sai Sudarshan, no changes. Give him a little longer rope.
Yeah,
He,
yeah,
he did have a
absolutely,
60 plus score.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He got a 50, and that's something that Karun Nair couldn't do. So he was able to score 50, and yeah, sure, he got a first ball duck. That happens to the best of everyone, best of all batsmen. So yeah, for sure, give him another go. I don't think it would be good for his confidence to drop him.
Yeah, no, I completely, completely agree. So no, I think we're good at that front. Okay, so now a little bit towards where the meat is, India's bowling lineup.
Yes.
One, how do you see the Bumrah situation play out? And two, what changes do you see?
Okay, so I was doing some Tehran research here, where I
Okay.
was looking at the total amount of overs he bowled in this test match, and because India didn't end up bowling again, he only
Yes.
ended up bowling 33 overs, which ended up being 10 overs less than the previous match at Lords. So, and again, because India batted all of day five and majority of day four, he actually got an extra day and a half of rest. And I feel he should be able to play the fifth test, which again people are saying is going to be a better wicket, spicier wicket, not going to be a road, hopefully. And so I feel he'll have a good impact if he does play. Obviously, I'm sure you as well want him to play, and I think he should. I think he should play. It is, if India can play and come up with a win and square up the series, I think that's a huge win, even though it's a tied series for this young team.
Yes. Yes. No, 100% there. Uh, it'll definitely be interesting with that. I also do think, because again, I think it was Akash Chopra, but I know there's been other conversations both on comms as well as online that, Bumrah isn't looking the best. Is he on the cusp of retiring? I think Bumrah might want to, he's also the player to one, I think, make his own decisions, and two, step up when people don't think he could. So I think, yeah, I think he himself, if he's fit enough, he would want to play. And if he does play, I think that is probably better for India. Uh, and when it comes to the other bowling changes, I could expect Arshdeep Singh to come back in. I know he had an injury. Hopefully he's better, and I think he will replace, but I'm not sure about the Siraj situation because Siraj, again, he's a workhorse, but he's bowled 4 tests in a row. Be interesting to see how he plays out. What are your thoughts on the other changes on the other spectrum?
I think if Bumrah doesn't play, then Siraj has to play because you need some experience there, right?
Yes.
But I think if Bumrah plays, then you could potentially swap in because I heard Akash Deep is back as well. I think Gautam Gambhir said the entire squad is healthy. I mean, the bowling squad is healthy, so we could be looking at Akash Deep available as well, and so you could have Akash Deep and Arshdeep coming in for Kamboj and Siraj, which could work, or you keep Siraj. I think he will want to play, and I think he'll be capable of playing because he's going to get plenty of rest after this. And
Yes.
he's an international player. He should be able to play 5 tests. The only reason Bumrah is not is because he's coming back from injury, right? So so I think Siraj should be able to play all 5, and I'd probably like to see Bumrah, Siraj, and I don't know if Akashdeep is fit. I don't know if you like should we get Arshdeep or should we bring in Akashdeep, but I'm okay with either or. I don't mind either or playing Akashdeep or Arshdeep, but please, I don't want to see Ajul Kamboj again for a while. I'm sorry.
He's your Prasid Krishna, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. When I saw him bowl, I'm like, man, I could bowl that. I could get me in. Get me in.
No, no, I do feel that. Okay, I guess one last thought to sort of tickle your
Yeah.
brain very quickly. Any situation where you see Kuldeep Yadav come in,
100%.
perhaps Gail Rahul taking the gloves?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're saying Kuldeep comes in for punt and everyone just slides up one and Shardul's at 7. Okay, that's an interesting take. I don't not like it. It's not bad. It's not bad. However, I think we need I think we need a proper batter in. So I would probably swap Shardul for Kuldeep. So I played 3 spinners, 3 and 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough,
Th-
fair enough.
yeah, I played 3 and 3, and in that situation, I'd want to do that if Boomerang is available as well, because you don't
Yes,
want to go in with three
spinners and then
fairly yeah 3 spinners and 3 fairly inexperienced fast bowlers. Even though
yes,
if Siraj plays in those 3, right, it would still be an inexperienced fast bowling lineup. So if Bumrah is playing, then yeah, I'm probably leaning towards playing Kuldeep as well. And so now you have 3 spinners with 3 fast bowlers. You could even look to swap out. You're not swapping Jaddu out, so maybe even Washi for Kuldeep. But after this test match, it's hard to
no.
leave out Washi.
Yeah, no, I don't see a situation where you leave out Washi, but I think similar to you, I do want to see Kuldeep come in. I heard Ashwin say this, which I did see some merit. His perspective was that a longer batting order can give you a draw, but real wicket takers can get you a win. So I think Kuldeep is
Hmm.
a real wicket taker, and I think India has to go for the win at the Oval. The series is up in the air. A win will get you that series level draw. So I think India has to go for that, and I do really want to see Gigi find a way because he always finds a way to, you know, do stuff that we don't expect to bring in Kuldeep and then offer that sort of perspective of getting those wickets because he is a wicket taker.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you square up Kuldeep with Shardul Thakur, bowling aside, if you look at batting, because that's the reason why Shardul is playing,
Yes.
is because of his batting.
Yes.
I don't think Shardul is that much more of a better batting option than Kuldeep. Maybe slightly better, but not when you say, let's say, because again, Shardul played this match because Nitish Kumar Reddy was injured.
Yes.
So if you're comparing NKR versus Kuldeep, then obviously there's a massive difference. But if you're looking at Shardul versus Kuldeep, there isn't much of a difference. Yeah, Shardul gave you 40 runs, which valuable runs this match, but he also has a higher probability of not giving you much with the bat.
Yep.
But he also has a high probability of giving you jack with the ball because he
Yes.
hasn't done anything. Versus
Nothing.
Kuldeep's good. He's good. He has a high probability of giving you wickets with the ball. So I'm
No.
probably gonna go from that math, whatever math that I did. I'm leaning on Kuldeep for Shardul, and I'll just bank on Kuldeep maybe lasting 50 balls, 60 balls, maybe stringing a small partnership with whoever is there, right? And you don't expect runs from him, but maybe he gives you like a 15 or 20 runs
Yeah.
from like 50, 60 balls, puts on a 50-run partnership with whoever. You're taking that every day of the week.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, India has to go for wickets. I think, again, to win the match, you have to get 20 wickets. You got to find a way to get Kuldeep in. And then with the way Kuldeep is expected to bowl, Jaddu, him bowling, and then obviously Washi as well, with some of the pacers, I think that's a deadly bowling lineup. I think a bowling lineup looking to get wickets and win a test match.
Yeah. Yeah, and if this Indian bowling lineup bats the way they did at Lords, and I hope they have like recordings of how they batted at Lords so that they remember that they can actually defend.
I
That's
know.
all they need to do is just
Uh,
defend. Just defend and just put a price on your wicket, and that's all that is needed to get something out of it, right? And if they can just hold on to that, I think they can last longer than they have been.
I completely agree. It's, you don't always have to go for the slog sweeps. You can always, just play time and put those bad deliveries away as they did in Lords. So no, I think, yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see how India assemble themselves for the Oval.
Yeah, we need Mohammad Siraj to be Mohammad Siraj, not Muhammad Arzuruddin.
Literally, literally.
Awesome. All right. Anything else on the next test match? Anything else you wanted to add on it?
No,
Maybe
but I
from the
think,
English side?
it'll be, yeah, I guess from the England side as well, they have, I think, questions you have to answer from bowling
Yeah.
unit. I
Yeah.
think Kars has played all test matches as well. He must be toiling. I know Archer as
He
well.
looked wrecked. He looked
Yes,
wrecked.
of course, and he's a workhorse. You see him coming in, he has that little Siraj type of mentality as well. So
Yeah.
again, you got to respect the competitive spirit. But again, he's toiling. Obviously, we saw Ben Stokes again today, toiling as well. And then Archer as well, concerns about Archer's fitness. So I think they have a lot of concerns on their front as well, and it'll be interesting to see as well what they're going to do with the spinning perspective, because it did seem like Stokes wasn't really impressed with the way Dawson wasn't hitting the rough today. He didn't bowl as much
Yeah.
as he wanted to, perhaps. So again, from a both fast bowling perspective and a spinning department, I think England have a lot of questions on their end.
Yeah, I think their bowling, they have a lot of questions, more than India, because
Yes.
like, if India's bowling was toothless, I don't know what you would call England's bowling because they looked completely out of it. And it just felt like Stokes was the only way out of everything. And that was literally proven today when he was the one that broke the partnership that got India close to the draw. And he's running on fumes.
Yes.
Archer is, as you said, he's played two tests. He's coming back from 4 years off
Yep.
the grid, off the cricketing grid. So you want to play three test matches and risk losing him for Ashes? Probably not. So they're probably going to swap him out. And then Kars looks gone, so they're probably swapping him out. And then Wokes is the question mark because he seems like he could play the next test match, but he hasn't been penetrative at all in the series. Like he's had spells
He's
where
at
he's
spells.
been good and he's looked good, but he hasn't had innings where he's been good, if you know what I mean, right? He's only had spells within an innings, but he's never been able to string an entire set of spells together across the innings and be effective. So
Has Wokes
and then
bowled every test match? I think he has, perhaps.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
played every test match. He's
Yeah,
played
yeah, yeah.
every test match. So we could be in a situation where we see a completely different England bowling lineup because they got a few to choose from. I believe they have Josh Tong, who's played the first two
Yes.
test matches. So he may come in for Archer again. And then you may see Gus Atkinson come in for Cars. And then maybe they play Wokes, or you could have Sam Cook come in for Wokes. So they have the replacements. They don't have the spinning replacements. So they may end up playing Liam Dawson again because they don't really have a choice. Or there's
Yeah.
always the left field option of playing Jacob Pettel. But I don't think they're playing him as a spinner. That's
No,
for
that's a
real.
fair point. That's a fair point. Hey, maybe Harry Brook will bowl. Who knows?
Yeah. I thought he was a medium bowler, but it turns out he knows how to bowl off spin too.
Oh man, he was really, bowling like full tosses at Jadeja at the end there,
Yeah.
trying to wrap it up quick. So yeah, not really
Yeah.
encouraging on that front. But yeah, to the wider point though, I think it'll be very, very interesting to see how both teams line up their bowlers for the next test match. Cause I think that could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, it's going to be an epic test match to what has been an epic series. Fittingly, we're going into this match with the series still undecided. And I feel if India is able to pull off the win and make the series 2-2, that will actually be a fitting end to the series because
Yes.
these two teams have been equally matched and there's been very little separation, and neither team deserves to lose.
Yes, yes, no, 100%, 100%. I think, I would, again, maybe just a little bit of the India perspective coming out from my end. India's in a team of transition. So I think a 2-2 series level in England under Shubman Gill's first captaincy would be very encouraging for this new squad.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Awesome. That's a great place to wrap it up. We can't wait to bring you the Oval Test match. We will see you then. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe. That stumps.